Hey everybody, Mr. Regan here. And up to now, you've created a set of models that show what's happening to the velocity of our pod as it is affected by different force and the strengths of those forces. And these models are going to be super helpful for Dr. Gonzalez to understand what's going on with our space pod. Now, with that, Dr. Gonzalez has also requested uh, a set of explanations as to what your pod models are really showing, what they're all about, and the cause and effect relationship. So, today for our survey, as I get into explaining how we're going to be creating these claim responses, we're looking to understand how to use the words and phrase banks in your responses. So, it's a set of resources for your writing today and how to create strong scientific responses for both of our claims. So, let's go ahead and take a look. So, you will be writing about our two claims in terms of cause and effect today. Dr. Gonzalez, as I said, is interested in understanding the relationship between the force of the thrusters and the change of velocity. They're going to be using this to help interpret the data as to what's going on with their space pod. Now, the key idea here is this cause and effect relationship. Understanding a cause and effect relationship can help us infer what led to a particular result. So, in our model from before, we know that the space pod comes in with a medium velocity. It is affected by a force, the thrusters, and that creates the change in velocity. So this right here is an example of a cause and effect relationship. We have the cause being the force of the thrusters and the effect being the change in velocity. This force that's applied, this medium force that's applied to this object that's going to the right with a medium velocity, creates the effect of it coming to a stop. And this model is a great example of how we can use this cause and effect relationship to infer about the result. So if we didn't have this force arrow, but we knew the object stopped, we could infer that a medium force was used to stop the medium velocity and cause it to come to a complete stop. And we're going to use this idea of cause and effect to explain what's going on for claim one and claim two. So let's go ahead and take a look at how we're going to create our strong scientific responses. In a previous lab, you guys used a lid and hit it across the floor with one of the launchers. And we could use our understanding of cause and effect to explain what's going on with the lids. So we could break down a very simple cause and effect relationship by saying the launcher caused the lid to start moving across the floor. And though this is a great example of a basic idea for cause and effect, cause, okay, the launcher was hit, effect, it moves across the floor. This really doesn't help us explain scientifically this cause and effect relationship. So, a more scientific response includes number one, our scientific vocabulary words, and number two, what are called transition phrases, phrases that help us explain this cause and effect relationship. So, let's look at a few of those. When I released the launcher exerted a force on the jar lid. As a result of the force exerted by the launcher, the velocity of the jar lid changed and it started to move across the floor. So notice, this was our basic idea. Now this is our scientific explanation. The words in blue represent those transition phrases that help us understand the cause and effect relationship. When this happens, as a result, this happens. Cause and effect. We've also pulled in our scientific vocabulary. We've talked about this idea of force and how that force had a specific effect on the velocity of the jar. So notice in this response, we just know that we have this basic cause and effect relationship. Here we use transition words and vocabulary to show the cause being a force being exerted and the effect a result of the velocity change. So this is how we create a scientific cause and effect response. Your job is going to be to do that for two parts, two specific claims that we've looked at to describe what could have happened at time number three. So, this point here, when the pod changed direction, we lost that signal. To do that, we have to think about writing our two claims and clearly stating how strong or weak thruster force would affect the pod's motion. So, strong and weak force is the cause, affect the pod's motion and velocity is the effect. We should be using our scientific vocabulary to explain both of these claims. So at time three, if it comes in with that medium velocity, What kind of force would we need to apply to create claim number 1? What kind of force would we need to apply to create claim number 2? When you get into the Amplify page and as you write, you're going to be given a word bank. Those are our vocabulary words. Make sure we use those, and some cause and effect words and phrases. We need to use at least one of those so we can effectively show how one cause creates a specific effect. As you're creating your response, think about how you showed it in your modeling tool. That would give you a good idea of what we should write about. Thinking about what you showed and now explaining it using our word bank and phrases. If you need a review of what the instructions that I just explained are, make sure when you click into the Amplify page, you read through them carefully. Otherwise, at this point, we hopefully understand how to use our words and phrases within our responses and how to create that strong scientific response. Put your X in whatever row fits you. Reach out if you have questions, and good luck.